What's up, gamers? It's your host, Cobra, and today we are finally live streaming on YouTube. We are playing Legends of Venari, which is one of the latest play and earn games that I have dipped my toes into. I'm really glad that I did. A friend tipped me off that this game was going to be opening actual gameplay very soon. This was about 2 weeks ago. And less than a week before gameplay actually opened up, I got this tip and purchased an alpha pass so that I could participate. I actually purchased that the day that it opened up after I saw some gameplay and saw just how fun it was going to be. My friends were posting some of their early catches in Discord, and I am a big Pokemon fan. This game is quite clearly inspired heavily by Pokemon, and so I knew immediately that I was going to be very jealous and wanted to play the game myself. So that's what pushed me over the edge to make the purchase. It didn't hurt that I found a good deal at the floor, which helped make it even easier to get in. And today I'm quite happy because within a day of the game being opened, the prices for those passes all ballooned. So we're going to talk a little bit of strategy in terms of how to get into the game yourself if that's something that you're interested in. And I imagine you are if you're here watching this stream today or watching it on demand later on. But before we do, let's jump in and try to catch some Venari straight away. I've preloaded a few different baits so that we can start catching right away. We are currently in the Enya area. This is the second world that gets unlocked in the game. Quite frankly, I was really surprised to see that there was a second world available, considering this is just alpha gameplay. Had they rolled this out with, 3 or 4 Venari and just a couple of stages, but the core functionality, this would still be fun and exciting. But the fact is there are several stages. We're going to take a look at those later today as well. And there's a whole second world already available. So this development is much further along than I would have expected just from looking at the project on the outside. They've only sold some Gilded and alpha passes so far. There's not that many total holders for this project yet, and it's very surprising to see game development this far along in the general NFT cycle. Now, it fits nicely with this game, and as both a gamer and an investor, that's a huge advantage. Being able to see that this team is competent and has put together a functioning game already is a big confidence boost, and in my opinion, a really positive sign. So let's jump right in here. The Starlight Basin, this is the second or third area in Enya. All of those are going to be low energy. They're going to cost 2 for each expedition that you go on. And here we're going to try to catch a Laticus. Laticus is by far the most common Venari in this world, and despite being common, is a little bit of a pain to catch. I don't know if everybody else has the same issue as I do, but these I'm only catching at maybe a 50% rate with upgraded rigs. And in the first world, the commons, which were also Venari as well as Vespials, were much easier, it seemed like, to catch than they are here. But I like it because it keeps things interesting. So what we're doing right here is the function of catching a Venari involves you choosing up to 3 different actions to influence your odds. So you'll see over here, this is the catch button. You can hit that at any time, including straight away. It tells you the starting odds. They generally start at normal, but it's going to depend on the Venari itself. The more rare ones and higher tier ones are going to be a little bit more difficult, and they occasionally will start with moderate odds. You choose an action, and there's an RNG spin to see if it's successful or not, and that's applying a modifier to your catch rate. We can see that because when I hit fight. I got a blue message. That means that it was successful and my odds improved from normal to good. I'm going to try play because fight, play, fight is a common strategy. With this one, it was red, didn't work. You'll notice that the odds didn't go down. I'm going to talk about why that is, at least that we can see. I do believe it actually did go down here. It just didn't change it outside of the good range. So we're going to try fight for our last one. It was also unsuccessful, but we still have good odds. So hopefully we'll get it, and boom, we caught Laticus. So that is very exciting. And I am realizing that we didn't tweet out the link to let everybody know that we were live yet. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab that link from YouTube real quick, and we will tweet that out for everybody. All right. And I'm going to quickly share this with my favorite Discord. See if some of those guys want to jump in and join the conversation. So let's go back over here, and I am going to reduce this window a little bit so I can see the chat as well. All right, awesome. So we are back after it, and let's see here. I am covering this up. Let's see if moving. There we go. We'll move my window up a little bit. I'll probably play with that to not be covering as much of the screen as possible as we're playing, but I want you guys to be able to see here. I've got a few different baits available, and we're going to talk about the baits in a little bit. So for now, I'm just going to use the berry. That's the cheapest, most basic option. It's also what you want to choose anytime you're trying to level up or build up some gold, which are both important factors. In fact, if you do decide to jump in this game early, one of the things that I would recommend right away is that you work on leveling up your account, and don't worry about what kind of Venari you're finding or catching. Just build up as much gold as you can and start unlocking the new areas. When I review the map with you, we'll talk about specifically why, but there's a couple of areas that you want to get to unlock, because that is when you're able to purchase upgrades both to your bait and to your rigs that will help you be more effective and efficient. So next we're going to jump over to the rainforest, and we've got a little bit more variety in this area. I like going after the red agalas. I get these popping up probably second most frequently in this area. And the reason why I like it is it seems that they generally love fights, and we've got a good fight rig, so we're going to do that. You'll notice 2 successfuls in a row has my odds already up to excellent. When that happens, I generally don't risk a third action, even though with a gala it's likely that a fight will be successful as well. And we caught that one. So good start to the stream. One thing that I'll point out is, even though my account is probably one of the more upgraded and progressed accounts in the game so far, my catch rates have only improved by a little bit. It does seem that each area, the Venari, get a little bit harder to catch to kind of balance out the upgraded rigs that you're getting. When you do go back to the earlier areas, they seem to be a little bit easier, but this is all very, very new, and we don't have a lot of data. So I'm not sure if that's just coincidence or if that's actually happening. But we are going to put a dried Laticus in here. Now this is a 2,000 gold piece bait. That is the 3rd level of bait, and you'll notice here it gives us a cooldown of 1 hour. When we were in the basin with the berry, you see it gave us a 15-minute cooldown, which is down to about 12 minutes now. And we go over here to Marala Town, you're going to see that this cooldown has finished. So one of the things that I like is you don't have to worry about any of your Venari disappearing once the bait has expired. These 5 showed up. Those 5 are going to be there until I try to catch one. You'll probably say 5, I only see 4. This bush actually represents a random Venari. Now, in my experience, it is almost always a common, and it is very likely one of the commons you see here on the screen already. And in Enya, since the vast majority of the commons are all Laticus, it's almost certain that we have a Laticus, probably with green eyes in there. But there's always a chance that it's something good. I've had 2 or 3 tier 2 Venari pop out of bushes so far. So it probably is smart if you're, at least if you're trying to get more rarer Venari, to just always select a bush when there's one available, unless of course you can see something good. But when you're power leveling, you're taking a risk because you don't know which Venari is in there, which means you don't necessarily know what type of actions you're going to use, which influences the rig that you're going to choose. So you have to balance that out a little bit. Typically, I am grinding for gold all of the time. The bait is very expensive. So when I don't see anything good here, typically I'm just going to go with one of the most commons that I find easiest to catch. That should be a Laticus, but as I told you, I have uncommon bad luck with Laticus for whatever reason. So we're going to go with Fully Cry. Now, when I'm choosing rigs here, you're going to notice I have this tier 0 makeshift rig. That's what you're going to start with for free. I have the tier 1 generalist rig. I don't use the generalist rig at all. We're going to talk about why that is in a little bit, but I have the tier 3 fight and tier 3 play rigs. And at this point in the game, I am always choosing one of those. The one I choose is based on the Venari that I'm going to catch. With Fully Cry, I know that I want to do fight more than I want to do play. And so we're going to use that rig. Now, the rigs get a bonus for a particular action. The generalist rig gives you a bonus to feed, which you're going to notice we haven't done at all yet. The alum rig, or your fight rig, gives you a bonus to fight actions, and the play rig, of course, gives you bonuses to your play action. What it seems like is happening here, and I can't prove this yet, but what it seems like is happening is as you get a higher tier rig, the bonus you receive is when you have a successful action. So let's try one here. Didn't work, didn't work, and didn't work. So 0 for 3 on this one. But you're going to notice my odds stayed at normal, even though I failed 3 times in a row. What I believe is happening is that as I improve my rig, the bonus that I receive for a successful corresponding action goes up. However, it doesn't seem like the downside or the penalty for failing is increasing as well. It seems to stay at the same point. So as you get higher tier rigs, your bonuses get bigger, and it becomes more efficient to try and get the corresponding action to be successful. We will get better at understanding what actions and when to use them as we go through the gameplay as a community and share data. But for today, we are keeping track as best we can. There's a community that's been updating a big Google spreadsheet, which I will link in the video on demand for you. But that is a really helpful early guide in terms of knowing what to go for. And we had the Fully Cry Runaway. He's a little bit trickier, and honestly I probably would have chosen the Laticus to go after instead had we not been streaming, but I figured let's show you the cool squirrel looking guy instead. All right, we're going to put another berry here. Now, one strategy that I rather like is using a variety of, actually 1 minute, guys, I'm going to have to pause this and come right back. All right, sorry about that. We are back. I am actually dog sitting this weekend for some friends. So I got 4 Chihuahuas in the house today. One of them is my normal Chihuahua, but that always creates a little bit of adventure. Fun adventure, but adventure nonetheless. So let's continue going over here. And since we've got one more that's 10 minutes in, let's try and catch that. We've got all Laticus here. So we're going to choose the bush. Now, actually, let me show you, go back here and show you. What I like to do is look at what Venari have actually shown up here before I click the bush, because what I have found is that if there's a trend in terms of which rig I would use on the Venari showing, odds are good that that's the same rig I'm going to want for the random one in the bush. Now we have all the same Laticus here. Now for Laticus, I used the alum rig, which I'm not 100% sure is actually correct given my low catch rate, but as you can see here, we got the exact same one that we were seeing before, so that worked out nicely. We're going to try fight. We only got one, but that was enough to get us up to good and to get us the catch. So not bad. We caught 3 out of 4 that we started with. We're going to add another bait here, and I need to buy some more interesting baits as well. So we're going to do that here in a moment. But before we go much further, I want to tell you a little bit about the Alpha Pass itself, because that is the only thing really available to purchase today if you're interested in getting involved. It's not the simplest NFT to buy and understand the utility, but it is really, really important in terms of the investment that you're making because this is where we have confirmed play to earn options available. If we go back to the game over here, right, it has gold pieces, which are badly needed in the game, but they're not tradable yet. And I don't know if those are going to be tradable at all at any point. We have energy. There's no way to purchase or trade that. And then we've got lots and lots of Venari that we've been catching, as well as baits and rigs. Now the baits and rigs you can buy in game. The Venari you're catching, none of them are tradable or sellable today. I imagine some of that is going to change. We know for sure that at least some of the Venari are going to be NFTs. I think you're going to have the option to mint any of them as an NFT. It's pretty much going to come down to what you're willing to pay gas for, is my guess. But none of this is available for earning today. However, the pass that you purchase to get into the game itself, every single one of them gives you at least a little bit of an option to earn some money back. And it's important to understand those when you're shopping for the pass to get you in the game, whether you're doing that now or later. So the way the pass system works is there are 3 different factions, and honestly, it doesn't matter which faction you choose. They did detail a potential scenario where if 2 of them are really lopsided and one was really small, that smaller one would have an advantage. But that's going to balance itself over time, and I don't expect, especially once we get to the point of hundreds of thousands or even millions of players, that it's going to ever matter. So choose based on either whichever's the cheapest pass to grab. That's what I did, or whichever one you like. If you have a color preference or if the lore is meaningful to you. But let's talk about the different types of passes, because there are 2 passes available today, and soon there's going to be 4 of them available. The highest tier pass you can purchase is a Gilded pass, and these have both the Gilded and Alpha passes have all been sold. They're only available on secondary via OpenSea today, and they're not cheap. The perks for having a Gilded pass are a couple of things. You get the Vocari roll, which I don't really understand or know what kind of benefits come with that, but generally having an OG roll like that in the Discord does come with some benefits, things like whitelists, pre-sale access, maybe discounts. It does say that you'll have access to some exclusive airdrops, as well as the ability to participate in some AMAs and discussions. Typically, I'm not paying anything extra for that sort of thing, but lots of people like to. So that's a benefit there. The real noticeable benefit is that you're getting a 10% discount from the in-game shop. And I told you earlier that gold is a crunch. I have about 55,000 right now, and I bet you most players have less than that. I tend to be a bit of a hoarder, and I like to grind and save up gold, but it's not easy to come by, and it's really easy to spend it all on the various different baits. But the most important part about any of the passes is the pass generation that they come with, and that is how you're going to have the option to actually earn some money in this game first. So the Gilded pass has a minimum of 3 base passes and up to 10 Gilded base passes rather that come with the Gilded pass itself. Now I say come with, but you still have to earn them. So what happens is you play the game, and by playing once per month, you're going to unlock an additional Gilded pass. And what you do with that pass is up to you. You could create a second account if you're just not getting enough Venari. But once you've leveled up your account, you can play a lot with the energy that is given and not run out. That may change in the future, but for today, I don't really see much benefit in having a second account that you're running yourself. I'm also not even sure if that is technically allowed, but often in games like this, multi-accounting is against the rules, which we wouldn't want to do if that were the case, but in play and earn games, sometimes that's not the case, and you are allowed to have multiple accounts. I know Crypto Blades is famous for that. They encourage it, in fact, I think. But you're going to generate one of those per month, up to 10, and then you can resell those on the secondary market to a potential new player, an investor. You could also rent them out for 24 hours at a time. Now, if you have an account for this game but don't have a pass, anytime that you want to play, you can rent one for 24 hours instead of buying it. Now, I imagine that that will be used for players that want to dip their toes in and try it out. And you can continue to rent the same one over and over if you want to play the game, but you don't have the funds to purchase a pass outright. You'll be able to rent one instead. And we don't know what kind of rental prices those passes are going to fetch just yet today, but if you build up 3, 4, 5, 10 of them, if you're lucky enough to have a 10 of 10 Gilded pass, that is potentially a lot of income to generate every month from rental fees. The main other reason why you might want more than one and have a second account is so that you have a larger number of maximum passes to unlock, and if you're able to put in enough time to play on more than one account in a given day, you would be able to unlock 2 or 3 of them per month as opposed to just one. So there's some benefit there. I don't think that's a route that I am going to go, but we are still learning a lot with this game. Then for most people, you're going to be looking at the Alpha Pass today. This is the cheapest way to get in today. And last night when I checked, the floor on Alpha Passes was about 0.6 ETH. Not inexpensive, although the price of ETH is down a little bit today if that's something that you're interested in picking up. But they originally sold for 0.11. I was very lucky and got mine for 0.2, and it is a 7 of 7 Alpha Pass. That's the maximum there. And the difference between the Gilded Pass and the Alpha Pass is that your in-game discount drops to 5% from 10%. That will add up over time, but still getting the 5% discount is nice. And the Alpha Passes, as I mentioned, they go up to a maximum of 7 base passes and can be as few as 1, which would be a bummer. We don't really see this priced into the market very much today. I said it was about 0.6 for a floor. Most of the floor ones were around 3 passes, not 1. I actually haven't seen a 1 out of 7, although I'm sure that they exist. And the 7 of 7 pass was still under 1 ETH. I saw some sales for 0.85 and I believe 0.9. And the lowest one was for 0.99, I believe, last time I checked. That is a small premium from the base pass at the floor. And you're getting 4 or 5 additional passes at that price. Now, we don't know what those base passes are going to be selling for, but I imagine if the floor for an Alpha Pass is around 0.6, then a base pass is going to be less than that, of course, but could easily be in the 0.2 to 0.3 range. And if that's the case, then the 7 of 7 pass is worth quite a lot more. Now, that said, maybe the Alpha or the base passes rather won't be selling for that much, and this price does make sense. But I believe today, if you've got the budget and you're interested in purchasing one of these passes, that a 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 7 Alpha Pass for under an ETH is a steal. I don't have the kind of liquid ETH to purchase an additional one as an investment today, but if that changes, I do think I'll pick up a second Alpha Pass to potentially flip for more later or to earn some additional base passes. The really interesting thing, though, is once you start getting those base passes, it doesn't really end there. Now, the Gilded base pass is just a base pass generated by a Gilded pass, and those still get a 3% in-game discount, which is nice, and those will also earn a maximum of up to 3 additional base passes. So the Gilded base pass, especially if it's a 3 out of 3 one, is effectively the same as a 3 out of 7 Alpha Pass, and those are going for 0.6. Now, the difference here is that instead of using active gameplay to unlock like you were with the Gilded Pass and the Alpha Pass, you're going to be using CC, which is a in-game token that I believe we'll be earning, but we don't know or have today. So we'll have to see what that cost actually looks like to see how much lower value the base passes actually are. But if that's a small fee, then the Gilded base pass is pretty close to a floor Alpha Pass, which means that those are potentially worth a lot. The regular base pass, which is what I expect most players will be using to get into the game in the future, comes with no discount or extra features. It gives you access to the game and to be able to play, and each one of those can generate another 1 or 2 base passes as well. So the base passes are going to continue to expand. I'm curious to know, because the white paper doesn't detail it, is the base passes that your base passes are generating, will those also be able to generate another base pass? And since they don't change the name in here like they do with every other step, my assumption is that yes, as long as you continue to find players and are able to pay this fee, you're going to be able to continue to unlock additional passes. And if that's the case, anybody with even just 1 Alpha Pass is going to be able to build up a nice supply of passes for themselves to use over the length that they're playing this game. The alpha period is going to last for about 3 months, 2.5, 3 months. So you're going to unlock 2, 3, 4 passes depending on what you have and what you're playing in that amount of time. And a couple of those will have the opportunity to generate a pass as well. So, you know, if you're looking to build up a team of scholars or something like that, you could potentially do it off of 1 or 2 alpha or gilded passes and have a whole bunch of passes relatively quickly. So if we have some questions about the passes, we'll come back over here and talk about them. I am not doing a great job of watching the chat. I do see that Goldie had a comment there. Goldie's a buddy of mine, so thanks for tuning in. Let's jump back over to the game because we definitely have some Venari ready to go. And since we are in the Starlight Basin, I'm going to check this one first, even though the cooldown's not quite finished. The reason for that is it does cost us coins. I keep calling them gold pieces because they look like gold pieces. They call them coins in the game. It does cost coins to travel to the different areas, so you don't want to jump around unnecessarily because the coins are at a premium. But since we are already in the basin, we can go there without paying anything. And what a surprise, we've got more Laticus, but we'll go for the bush to keep things interesting. I'm going to choose the fight rig, and what do you know, we got the same Laticus again. So we're going to try fight, play, fight. Oh, that worked. You'll notice the second one, which I did play, didn't give the same odds boost, and that's because we're using the fight rig. So anytime I have a successful action that's not corresponding, I'm not getting that bonus. But we'll do the last fight. It didn't work, but we still got good odds and caught the Laticus. So we are going to set another bait, and since I haven't gone to the town yet to buy more, we'll set another berry for now. But we are going to go over to Morala town next. These names are a lot of fun. I'll be interested to learn the proper pronunciations for all of them, but we're going to butcher them in the meantime. Now, we've got more commons here, but at least this time we got the Vespile to show up, and we're going to try to catch that one, keep things interesting. Also, Vespile likes to play, so we're going to use the play rig, and often I get 2 out of 2. I took all 3 this time, but we got excellent odds, and we are having good luck on this stream, catching almost all of them so far. So let's set another bait. And actually, we're going to buy more interesting bait. And so the first part of the UI that I'm going to show you is the market. That's this tab right here. Now, not every region has a market. In fact, the majority do not. So this will be grayed out often. But anytime that you're in an area that does have a shop, you'll be able to go over here and see what they have available. And these are the basic baits. What you can see here is my 5% discount. So the berries are 250 coins. Normally, we get it for 238 via the Alpha Pass. And we need more of those, so I usually just grab about 15 at a time because we're regularly going back to the town, and it's not a big deal to buy some more. And then for 808 coins, we've got what I call the tier 1. I call this tier 0. These are the tier 1 baits. That's a term that I've been using, not official. And honestly, I just kind of randomly use these. At certain times, it seems that there is a correct combination to get particular rares, but it seems to be evolving or changing based on other factors that I definitely have not figured out yet. So for today, I'm in more of a vegetarian mood. We're going to buy some of the mushrooms, and we're going to buy some of the leafy greens. And anywhere that we use these for bait, we're going to end up having a little bit better odds of getting a more rare Venari. And that is, of course, a good thing. So I think we will go with the leafy greens here and see how that does. I did have a friend tell me that they used a gala meat over in the expensive area, the preserve, and they found a numbered tier 2. So let's go over there and set one of those baits as well. Now, the raw gala meat is $2,000, 2,000 coins rather. So you don't get to purchase those too often, and if you're using them all the time, you're going to run out of gold rather quickly. But it's just not that much fun to only catch the commons over and over. So I like to mix in some good baits here and there, especially if I've heard that it's effective. And that is a good opportunity. Let's just double check our baits. Yep. So we've got a couple that are going to take an hour. The other thing is in the preserve or any of the further along areas in each world, the expeditions cost 10 energy. So what I actually do, unless I'm literally trying to burn energy, is if there's only commons on here or commons in a bush, I just end the expedition and don't spend the energy at all. Setting the bait costs you the bait, but you don't spend the energy until you actually start the expedition, which is catching the Venari or trying to catch the Venari. So if you don't want to spend that energy, you can end the expedition. You lose your bait, but you don't have to lose the energy as well. And honestly, spending 10 energy to catch a Vespial or Laticus is never going to be efficient. I've done it by accident several times, so don't feel badly if you have as well. But let's jump over and talk about the Venari really quick, because we're starting to catch them, and there's a couple of things that we are looking for. So just pull up an example. This is the very first Venari that I caught. And let's talk about what you can see here on this screen. So obviously here's the name, and this little green dot is actually rather important. That green dot signifies that it is a tier 1 Venari, which is the lowest tier available, and what you're going to find most of the time. Now, you will see different Vespials. This is a water type one, which is why it's more blue. You saw me catch a pinkish red one earlier. That was a fire type. And so they're a little bit different, but they're both commons. There is also a constellation We don't know what that means at all today, but it's likely going to have, not likely, it's definitely going to have an impact in some part of the future game. It also has a different element. Now we know that the different elements have different colors, which is cool, but we don't know a ton about what they mean other than that. However, this game is heavily Pokemon, so we can make some assumptions that a water element Venari is essentially a water type Pokemon, which means that this is going to have advantages in battling against certain types, probably going to be good against fire types, might not be so good against they call them nature types, or nature elements, as opposed to grass, but it's likely going to have an impact there. We do know that both PvP and PvE battling are going to be coming for this game in the future, so having a variety here certainly could be useful. The population section is interesting as well. The tier 1s are all unlimited, at least as far as I can tell, and then this just tells you where and when you caught it, which could be useful for data mining in the future. But the part that people are most excited about and that we are typically looking for is the badges section. Now, during the alpha period, everything has the Genesis badge. These are the first Venari out there. And while these are going to be in great supply because everybody's playing this game so much, they're still going to be Genesis Venari. So if they have any collectability in the future, that's going to add quite a bit. And in a couple of months, this badge is going to disappear. So the ones that we're catching now will be at least a little bit special. This particular Venari doesn't have any other badges. However, if you happen to catch one of the first 100 of that type and element, then it's going to have a number badge here. And the number badge is limited to 100 per Venari per element. So I mentioned this is a water Vespial. So there's 100 water Vespials with a Genesis badge, as well as a number badge. And each one is different, so 1 to 100, which means that the first one is very likely the best. Some of the other ones, like 69 or 13 for me personally, would be very cool. 100 I think would be cool as well, since it's the last one. But we will see what kind of collectability value those badges add, but 100 is not a lot. The other thing that we are looking for here potentially is down in the population section is the tier 2s appear to all be 1 out of 5,000, which makes them limited. 5,000's a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, could still be a pretty small number. So that's kind of cool. The tier 3s, I believe, are out of 500, but I haven't even seen a tier 3 yet, so I can't confirm today. But that said, we have a few different baits to check, and let's go over to the active bait section here because we actually have 4 of them now. And actually, since we're here and none of the baits are quite ready yet, let's take a look at the dashboard. I consider this the main screen for the game. It's in the second tab spot, which would indicate that's not the main screen, but this is where I'm spending most of my time. There's only a few things on the dashboard so far, but we can see a summary of our active baits. These seem to be in random orders, so it's a little bit difficult. It would be nice if we could customize this really quickly. This is my daughter, Prim. What's up, Peanut?
Bring the dogs down, but peeing everywhere up here.
Yes. Looks like the dogs are going to join us for our live stream, so that'll be interesting. But the active bait section, I would like to be able to customize this, especially as we grow, so that I can see the ones that we're tracking most often without having to click over to the active baits section. This is where you see the full list. We've got 4 of them live right now, so there are 4 of them listed there. The catches section shows us a summary of what we've been working on, and as you can see, these are the ones that we've caught while we've been streaming. So let's bounce back over
Mostly beans.
and try to catch a few more because we've got a couple that are ready. The berries, I never worry about going early on those. As long as we've got something to catch, it's not bad. If it's been at least 4 or 5 minutes, we've likely got something to catch. So let's try a bush since that's all we have. I'm just going to randomly choose the fight rig because the Laticus is the most common, and that's what we got. We're going to try fight, play, fight. 3 for 3, excellent odds, and we caught it. Now, when I get to excellence, I've caught just about all of them so far. However, it is definitely not 100%. I've had, I believe, 2 run on me. But let's set another bait here, and we will use a mushroom since we sent a leafy green in the last one, and hopefully we're going to get something a little bit more interesting there. Go ahead and bring them in, guys.
I still want to see me?
Yeah, they will.
No, I just got
All right,
out of the shower.
1 second.
Are you vibing it? Yes. Well, they're peanuts then.
All right. Thank you for the help, kiddo. All right, live streaming fun. Where were we at? Reviewing the dashboard. That is all that's in here today. I imagine over time when they add additional features that they're going to add more stuff to this dashboard. I think it's very likely that we get something along the lines of daily activities that need to be completed. That is very common in all sorts of games. So we'll probably see a list of dailies to complete somewhere in this dashboard in the near future. The bar at the top is not part of the dashboard per se, but has even more relevant information. The one that I'm always keeping an eye on is the account and world levels. And this was a little bit confusing at first, especially because they seem to go up together. In fact, they do go up together. Every time you're getting a catch, you're getting some experience, and it's adding to the status bar. However, the bars are different, as you can see, and the world level is specific to the world that you're actually in. So my account is up to 14. The importance there is that you get an additional 5 energy added to your maximum every time that you get a new level, which is why we're up to 75. You start out with 20 energy, which goes pretty quick. Once you get up to about 40 or so, if you're sticking to the 2 energy expeditions, it's not nearly as fast. But if you're doing the 10 energy expeditions, they're gone in a snap. So you have to pay attention to that. As you unlock more energy, it becomes much easier to do the 10 energy expeditions as well. I still don't do them very often because, frankly, it's not the most efficient way. And so far, I'm not noticing better Venari, at least not better Venari very often in those areas. So why am I paying 5 times as much from an energy perspective? So I stick to the 2 energy ones for the most part, but I played past 2 a.m. last night and did not use up all of my energy before going to sleep. So it's definitely safe to use at least a couple of the 10 energy ones here and there. And I don't know where this is going to cap out, but eventually it's going to cap out somewhere. And unless there's going to be even larger energy costs in future regions or areas, it's going to become a non-factor eventually. My guess is this is going to cap out at perhaps 100. 100 energy seems like a lot. On the flip side, it seems way too early to be capping out our energy in that'll be about 2 weeks probably of total play. Usually in a mobile game, which is absolutely where they stole this energy idea from, usually it takes months, if not years, to max out your energy to the account maximum. And that is specifically to give you something to continue to work towards. But I'm just speculating here. We really don't know where that might cap out at. Over here, we can see the coins that we have. This is my account, Cobra. There's nothing there yet. I can't even click on this, but I imagine we'll have some functionality there in the future. At the top, it also tells you which region you're currently in. We're bouncing around constantly, so I don't pay attention to that part too much. But let's go back over to our baits here, and the Mirala Town leafy greens are just about ready. So let's check and see if we got anything good here. Now, we got all commons again, which is not a surprise. However, since we used a little bit better bait, we didn't get the most common options. These are a couple of different luminas, and they're all going to be green dots. I can tell from the colors at this point whether it's a tier 2 or tier 1. But this one is going to be, I believe, the fire type. And then this one is, I believe, the water type. I don't think it makes a big difference, but actually, let's see what we got in the bush. Because it's probably going to be the same one, possibly a different type. Or it's going to be a Laticus. That was a fail, but we'll try the same strategy. We only got one success, still caught it. I haven't called it out, but here it does show you how many coins you're getting each time you make a catch. The commons are typically from like 1100 to 1500, usually somewhere in the middle. They need to add how much experience we're getting here. Even if it is just a flat 100 each time for a T1, we should be able to see that. If you want to keep track, you kind of have to hover over the status bar and then do a little bit of math. It's pretty easy to notice though, because we mostly catch T1s and it mostly goes up by 100. So that seems to be what's happening. Let's try a leafy green again. See if we can get something a little bit better. We'll stick to mushrooms in the other area. This one's only been about 8 minutes. I'm actually going to check on the hour-long bait first, and hopefully we've already got something cool. We do at least have a couple of new ones here so far. Now, one thing that I would recommend is if you're playing this yourself, don't try to catch anything until the cooldown has finished, with the exception of berries. Berries are really for leveling up and getting gold, so you don't have to worry about what Venari are showing up. Technically, you can get a good one off of a berry. I have had that happen more than once, but it's pretty rare. It's not worth waiting the full 15 minutes to see if you get anything good. On anything else, I generally do recommend wait the full 15 minutes or wait the full hour. If you're using the 8,000 coin pieces baits, then you're going to want to wait the full 24 hours because those are so expensive. You want to be as efficient as you can be, but with the cheap ones, kind of whatever. So Arius is a tier 1, and then Aharis is also a tier 1, but he's actually a little bit harder to find. I don't see him popping up too often. So if we were going to go now, I would go after that one. However, we've still got some time, and well, I don't pay super close attention to this because it costs coins to check each time. It seems to me that the best spawn, if you do get any good ones, tends to be the last one. So we're not going to use that one just yet. We have plenty of time left in the Agala meat, so there's not really a whole lot of point in checking that one out just yet. We'll go a little bit early on the mushroom. And we've got bushes. That is boring, but we're going to go for it anyways. Let's try the play rig randomly, because why not? The other thing I'm going to point out here, if you've been paying attention, you've noticed I'm not selecting a bait when I catch. I almost never select the bait. The reason for that is it consumes one bait as soon as you equip it. Doesn't matter if you use the feed action, and it doesn't matter if you use the feed action 2 or 3 times. It still consumes one bait. However, as you've seen, we're catching almost everything without using any bait. and that's because we're catching and finding tier 1s so far, and it's just not that important that you have bait. In fact, it's never important that you have bait, best I can tell. The reason why I do bring it with a tier 2 or tier 3, or if it's the first time that I'm seeing a Venari, is for the simple reason that I don't know what's going to work on that Venari yet because I don't have any experience with it. So having that third option available is good, and if it happens to be effective, then you're increasing your chances to get that catch. However, most of the time I know which kind of actions I want to use, and it's not feed because I have to buy those. I've already spent the money on the rigs. It's got unlimited fights or unlimited plays available. So that's a much more efficient route to go. That may change someday, but that's the way it works right now. So we did get a Lumina, which is nice since we just passed on Luminas for Elaticus in the last one. And I tend to go with fight. For those, we brought the play rig though. So we're going to try play. Luckily worked. Let's try play, fight, play. Oh, the plays did work. We still ended up with excellent. That is the big benefit of the tier 3 rigs. When I was using the tier 2 rigs, I got an excellent, I believe, one time. It took all 3 successful actions, and I had all 3 successful actions happen many times using that rig. It only went to excellent odds once, I believe. So that means that the bonus from the tier 2 rigs is not that big. The bonus on the tier 3 rigs is clearly much bigger. And that's a nice thing for us as we continue to level up. Now this is where we're planting mushrooms, so we'll get another one in there. Let's go check our baits. I don't think anything is close enough to being usable yet, so let's talk a little bit more about how the game works and some strategy. So I was just telling you about not using baits. Let's spend some coins to actually look at all of the bait options. So, and this is actually a good spot to look at the location section. So along here, right, this is the expedition. This one brings you to the dashboard. That's where we've been spending the most of our time. This is the inventory, and it's pretty easy to keep track of what you have right now, but the baits is typically changing quite a bit. Here's where we can see all of our rigs. These two basically don't exist for me. It's all about these two. And this is where we can see our passes. Actually, let's click on that so you can see. I have auto reactivate turned on because I am going to play on my pass. That is not going to change. Here you can see the base passes. It says I have 7 of 7 unlock. And this is the exciting part. This is the 40% complete status bar. It says I have 12 days left to go in order to unlock my first base pass. I'm quite excited to see what that ends up looking like. Now you can set a lending fee as well. I have no interest in lending at this point, so I haven't really played around with that part yet. But that might be the route we go with the base pass once we've earned it. Now, a question that I have, and could probably find an answer for it in the Discord just by asking, but what does active gameplay mean? Right? Does that mean that I actually activated the pass for 24 hours and that's just happening for me automatically? Do I actually have to go in and take an action? Do I have to catch a Venari? Do I have to consume a bait? I don't know exactly what it is. At this point, it doesn't matter because I'm playing the game a lot. And so we are going to have no trouble with that. But at some point, it will be relevant. Like, if I decide to go on vacation, I'm probably not going to be playing Venari very much while I am. But I might bring my laptop and log in, catch one in the evening before bed, just so that I'm still getting a day of active play. But we're going to need to figure out what that means. But let's go back over to the location section, because this is actually where I was the most confused when I jumped in. So this is Enya. It's the second world, as I mentioned. I'm going to click over here and go back to Tecta. This is where you start. And when you first log in with a level 1 account, you're going to have the city of Tecta available, as well as the glowing forest. And these are both 2 energy regions. You're going to get common Vespiels and Laticus in there for the most part. But that's where you're going to start your grind. At level 2, you'll unlock the Tecta slums. And quite honestly, they all look pretty much the same in the expedition section. There's these 2 trees and a bunch of spots where things can pop up. I imagine over time that's going to be improved, and it'll look a little bit more like you see in the background here for each world, and there'll probably be other cosmetic details to differentiate some of the areas. But let's head back over to the Tecta, and you're going to notice here it costs $2,150 to go to the city of Tecta, which is a lot. Now that is because it costs $2,000 extra to travel from one world to the other. Once you're inside of that world, you're only paying the $150, or in the case of the 10 energy areas, it's $180. But Lyra is the first goal to unlock when you open up your account, because this is where you're going to get the tier 2 baits as well as the tier 1 rigs. These are going to be a big upgrade for you. These are also the 2,000 coin baits. I rather like those baits. They're an hour long. That doesn't take too long to go through, but they are also going to give you a much better chance at bringing in a rare or tier 2, tier 3 Venari, which is cool. And at minimum, even if you get all tier 1s, they tend to be of a greater variety as opposed to just a screen full of ants. As you continue to level up, and this is going to be, if I was in Tecta, it would say my Tecta level, which is also 7, because Tecta 7 is when you unlock Enya. But at 6, the groves unlock, and I'm going to have to go back to grind up to 9 and 10 to unlock the last sections of Tecta. Now, I have been wondering, especially now that I have made it to Enya 7, I've been wondering if it might make sense to go back to Tecta and focus on unlocking these to see if there are Venari that are not available in the earlier stages that are available here. In fact, I just about guarantee that that is the case. Doesn't mean that they're going to be easy to find or catch, but the reason why that's interesting is that in the later sections, all of the top 100 Venari are not gone yet. And if there are new ones that haven't been found at all yet, that means the number 1 badge is still available potentially. So it's a little bit of a race to get there, because once the first 100 are gone, they're gone. But the choice is interesting because we've got the Enya world as well, and we have unlocked through the grasslands and now Mila Lake, which I honestly haven't even gone to yet because we recently hit that level. But there's no shop there, and I know that it's 10 energy, so I'm not in a super rush. And then the level 9 and level 10 stages here in Enya need to be unlocked as well still too. So which one should I go for first? I imagine that the Tacta ones will be unlocked first, simply because anybody that skipped going to Enya to continue working towards level 9 to level 10 of Tecta are probably getting pretty close, if not already there, whereas you had to put in a bunch of work to get into Enya first. So I think maybe getting to the Tawarin Mountains at level 9 Enya might be the play that I go for, but to be determined. So let's take another look at our baits here, and we've got down to the last 5 minutes on the dried Laticus, and that's what I'm going to use to wrap this video up today. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about the rig usage. I've mentioned this a little bit before, but because each rig gives a bonus to a different action, and each one of those actions corresponds to the rig, you're going to want to primarily lead with the bonus action, and you're going to want to choose rigs that have the bonus action that you want to use for the Venari you're trying to catch. But because you're getting an increasing bonus as you upgrade your rigs, it makes more and more sense to just always do that corresponding action from an odds perspective. Now, we're making assumptions here because we don't know the full formula, but that seems to be the case. Since it consumes bait to use the feed function, that means it costs coins to use the feed function, and that makes it far less efficient. So even if you have a tier 3 generalist rig, which is going to be the best one for feeding so far, it's still really inefficient because you're spending at least 230 gold pieces to get the berry, and likely a lot more for the other baits as well, and it's just going to eat up your coins much faster. So for that reason, I don't even bother buying the generalist rig. I'll probably find out later on that was a mistake for some particular reason that I was missing, and then have to go back and make those purchases as well. So if you've already purchased any generalist upgrades, don't feel badly. That is still a useful rig, and if you don't want to think about it, you can just use the generalist rig for everything, and it's never going to be a terrible choice. But for now, I am not going to spend any of my coins on the generalist rig until that changes. So we are finished with our countdown in Marala town, so let's head over there and go after our last few catches. Now, we did get some more interesting ones. We haven't had a Eurisi pop up yet. It is still a tier 1, but this was one that I like to catch, and we haven't seen it yet, so let's take a look together. Eurisi is one that I typically go play, fight, play, or play. And interesting, this one started out with moderate odds. I'm going to have to go back and view the video. I don't think that changed, but if anybody was watching, feel free to let me know in the comments if you saw that one change. I don't think it did, and since we failed on the first one, we're going to just keep trying play. We got one. It brought us up to normal. That's not great, so this one might run on us. Oh, good luck continues today. This is nice because yesterday everything that was normal ran on me. And today we're getting a little bit better results, so that is nice. We're going to keep using the leafy greens over there, but let's head over and we'll check out the basin first as we let the last 2 minutes run out on our dried Laticus bait, since that was an expensive one. We certainly want to get everything out of it that we can. And this is actually a good one to talk a little bit more strategy as well, because we have a tier 1 Lumina here, and then we have a bush. And over the last 3 minutes here, likely another one would pop up. We're not going to wait for it. But my theory is go for the bush. It has a chance to be a tier 2 or a more rare Venari that we haven't uncovered yet. I think at this point I've probably found all of the tier 1s that are available in Enya, but perhaps not. The other thing is it could be a tier 2 or a tier 3. I've only had that happen a few times, but there's a chance. If I click on this, I'm getting a tier 1 every time because we can see it. The flip side to that strategy is this is Illumina. I know how I want to approach Illumina, and because I don't have the generalist or use the generalist rig, and this is the spot where the generalist rig would be useful, is going after the bush. It forces me to choose a rig that might not be ideal. If I choose the fight rig, for example, which is what we're going to do, and we end up with a Eurisi or Vespale that wants us to use the play action, well, my odds of making that catch are immediately lower because I don't have the correct rig. However, it still seems to be at least a 50% chance to make that catch in my experience. So I don't think it's a big penalty. And like I said, the strategy of looking at what else has shown up here and then choosing what the majority would like, which in this case is 1, has been relatively effective for me. Again, that could be luck, but it's been working, so we're going to try that again. And let's see here. It didn't matter. We got the same exact one. And honestly, that's the most likely result in my experience so far. But we're going to try fight, play, fight. And we only got 1 success, but it gave us good rating, and we made the catch. Very nice. So we're going to set another mushroom bait for later. And then we're going to head over here, and the rainforest with our dried laticus is ready. Now, because the stream is going to end before the raw agala meat is going to be ready to go, we're going to check that one out first. And if we happen to get a really good spawn, then we would go for it now. Now, this is cool. We got a carrium, which is one that I have caught a few of already, but we haven't seen on the stream yet. And it's a little buggy crab guy, which is kind of cool. I like this one. In fact, I have a tier 2 with the number 70 badge, I believe it was the first badge with a number that I found. So this guy holds a special place in my heart. But because they are both the tier 1s, that is definitely not worth using the 10 energy that it would take to try and catch them. Especially with 25 minutes left on a 2,000 coin bait. So we're going to let that continue to go. But our dried laticus is ready. So fingers crossed that we've got something awesome there. So we have an exciting end. And wow, nothing else spawned in the remaining time since we last checked it. So that's a little bit disappointing, but Aharis is still an interesting one to go after. And let me think here, what do I like to do with Aharis? He is not as common, but I think I've mostly done play. So let's do the play rig. He's a tier 1, so I'm not going to bring a bait, but in a spot where I have less information, that's typically where I want to bring a bait. In this case, though, I have caught probably 3 or 4 of those. This is one of the cooler looking ones because he's kind of black and glowing. But let's try play, fight, play and see if that goes anywhere. And actually, one thing that I like to do, I don't know if this is effective or not, but if I fail on the first one when I expected it to work, I like to just go 3 of the first one and power it through and hope that play was the one that we wanted to go with. Didn't work out here, and that's not always going to be the case. Like, even if you have it totally memorized, the Venaris have some RNG to it as well. And as you can see, fail, fail, fail still resulted in a catch. I'm glad that happened on stream because especially early on, you're going to have lots of them that are fail, 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 and you're not going to catch them all, but it's going to be pretty close to 50-50 still, in my estimation anyways. And so that does keep things interesting. You're never in a terrible position to make a catch, at least right now. Eventually we might be able to find ones that are much, much harder to catch. In fact, that's almost guaranteed. But for today, none of them seem much worse than about 50%, even when you fail. But let's go back over here and just double check our baits. We have nothing else that's really ready to go. So that's where we're going to wrap things up for today. I do want to call out that we had max energy when we started I've been talking a lot, but we still have a lot of energy. So once you've built up a few levels, you can really play this game quite a lot, even though it has this energy limitation, which is a bit different than most mobile games. In mobile games, your energy goes pretty quickly. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a bunch more of this in the future. And follow us on Twitter at the Freeroll. I hope that this has been helpful, and we'll be gaming again soon.